The giant ship hung in the sky above Seoul. It was bigger than 10 buildings stacked on top of each other. People pointed and took pictures. Some ran away. Others just stared. Taejin Kim stood tall as he waited at the landing site. His green beret sat firmly on his head. Next to him stood Gina Park and Huck Lee, also wearing their green berets. They were the best soldiers Earth had to offer, though you couldn't tell just by looking at them. "Remember," Taejin said quietly, "we are here as friends. We show respect." Gina nodded. "But we don't show fear." "Never fear," Huck agreed. The ship's bottom opened up. A ramp came down slowly. The air felt electric. This was the first time humans would meet aliens face to face. The creatures that walked down the ramp made Taejin blink twice. They were tall, at least 8 feet. Their skin was a pale blue color. They had 4 arms, each looking as strong as a car engine. Their heads were large with small, dark eyes that seemed to look down on everything. The leader wore shining armor with many symbols. He walked straight to Taejin with heavy steps that shook the ground. "I am High General Krax of the Zeranian Galactic Empire," the alien said in perfect English. Some kind of translator must be working. "We have conquered 200 worlds across 3 spiral arms of this galaxy. Now we come to your planet." Taejin bowed slightly. "I am Commander Taejin Kim of Earth. With me are specialists Gina Park and Huck Lee. We welcome you to our world." Krax looked down at Taejin. His upper arms crossed while his lower arms rested on weapons at his sides. "Our scans show your species is physically unimpressive. You are smaller than 90% of sentient life forms we have encountered." Gina's jaw tightened, but she kept quiet. "Strength comes in many forms," Taejin replied calmly. This made Krax laugh. The sound was like rocks falling down a mountain. The other aliens joined in. "Yes, that is what all weak species say before they join our empire," Krax said. He reached out suddenly and picked up Taejin by his uniform collar, lifting him off the ground with just one arm. The human security teams raised their weapons, but Taejin gave them a small hand signal to stand down. "See how easily I lift you," Krax said. "Your bones would snap like twigs under real pressure." Taejin met the alien's eyes without blinking. "And yet here I am, calm and thinking clearly while hanging in the air. Strength isn't just in the muscles, High General." Krax seemed surprised by this answer. He put Taejin down roughly. "Your species has spirit. I will grant you that," Krax said. "We invite a small team to visit our flagship for cultural exchange. You 3 will do." As they walked up the ramp into the alien ship, Hyuk whispered, "They have no idea who they're dealing with, do they?" Taejin shook his head slightly. These aliens saw only their physical size. They couldn't see the years of training, the missions in every environment on Earth, the ability to survive anywhere against any odds. They couldn't see that green berets were the elite among the elite. "Let them underestimate us," Taejin whispered back. "It might be the only advantage we have." The ship's door closed behind them with a heavy sound. As they walked deeper into the alien vessel, Taejin noted every detail: the layout, the guard positions, the technology. If things went bad, this information would be valuable. The aliens continued to look at the humans with amusement, like they were looking at children playing soldier. "These humans think they are warriors," one alien guard said to another, not caring if the humans heard. Taejin said nothing, but inside, he smiled. The Green Berets had a saying: quiet professionals. They didn't need to brag or show off. The aliens would learn soon enough. The inside of the Zeranian ship was cold. The walls were made of dark metal with strange marks. Taejin, Gina, and Huck followed High General Krax through long hallways. They passed many alien soldiers who stared at the humans with what looked like amusement. "This way to the testing area," Krax said. His voice echoed in the large space. Taejin kept his face calm, but his mind was working fast. "Testing area. We came for talks, not tests." Cracks made that rock-falling laugh again. All new species must be tested. How else will we know where you fit in our empire? They entered a big room with many strange machines. About 20 alien soldiers stood around the edges, watching. First test, strength, Cracks announced. He pointed to a large metal block. Move this. An alien soldier stepped forward and pushed the block. It moved about 5 feet with a loud scraping sound. The soldier looked proud. Tejan stepped up next. The block was easily 5 times his weight. He got behind it, planted his feet, and pushed with good form. The block moved only 2 feet. The aliens laughed. "See, weak," one called out. Tejan just nodded. He wasn't trying to impress anyone with raw strength. Second test, combat, Cracks said. A large alien with battle scars stepped into a marked circle on the floor. "Who will face me?" he asked. "I will," said Gina, stepping forward. She was the smallest of the 3 humans. The aliens laughed even harder. "This is not a joke," the fighter said. "I might hurt you badly, small one." Gina just smiled and entered the circle. "I'm ready." The alien rushed at her with all 4 arms reaching to grab her. Gina waited until the last second, then moved to the side with perfect timing. She used the alien's own force against him, adding a small push in just the right spot. The big alien stumbled forward, off balance, and fell hard outside the circle. The room went quiet. "Luck," someone muttered. The alien fighter got up, angry now. He charged again. This time, Gina ducked under his arms and used a quick series of strikes to pressure points the green Berets had learned worked on most life forms. The alien's right side went numb, and he fell again. "Enough," Cracks said, looking confused. Third test, endurance. This test was to run on a machine while carrying heavy weights. The alien soldiers ran for 10 minutes before getting tired. When it was Huck's turn, he ran for 30 minutes and wasn't even breathing hard. "I can continue if you want," Huck said politely. Cracks shut off the machine. Final test, adaptation. He took them to a room filled with strange obstacles and puzzles. "Get through this course." The course was designed for beings with 4 arms. The humans would be at a clear disadvantage. But green Berets were trained to overcome, adapt, and think differently. Tejan went first. Where the aliens used brute strength and all 4 arms, he found ways to use leverage and balance. Where they followed the obvious path, he found shortcuts. He finished the course faster than the alien record. Cracks's face showed no emotion, but his eyes narrowed. "Interesting," he said. "You are weak, but resourceful." Later, the 3 humans were given a room to rest. When they were alone, Huck spoke quietly. "They're still underestimating us." Tejan nodded. "Good. They tested our bodies, but not our minds. Not our real skills. They don't understand what green Berets are," Gina said. "They don't know we're trained to work behind enemy lines, to adapt to any situation, to win against all odds. And they don't know that while we were being tested," Tejan added with a small smile, "we were testing them too." Thuck looked at him. "What did you learn?" "Their ship design, their weapons, their fighting style," Tejan replied. "But most importantly, I learned they have a big weakness." "What's that?" Gina asked. "Pride," Tejan said. "They're so sure they're superior that they can't imagine being defeated by us." Outside their room, unknown to the humans, Cracks listened. These humans were strange. Perhaps they needed a stronger test. He walked away, already planning the next challenge. 3 days passed on the Zoranian ship. Tejan, Gina, and Thuck were given more tests and tasks. The aliens watched them closely. Some aliens still laughed at the humans, but others began to look more serious. On the morning of the 4th day, High General Cracks called the humans to the ship's main control room. The room was huge, with screens showing Earth from space. Many important-looking aliens stood around a large table. Commander Kim, Krax said formally. The Zoranian Empire has made its decision about Earth. Tajin stood straight, his face calm. Inside, he was alert and ready for anything. We have decided that Earth will join our empire, Krax announced. You have two choices. Become part of our empire peacefully, or we will take your world by force. The room was quiet. Gina and Huck looked at Tajin. This is not what we came here to discuss, Tajin said. Earth is a free world. We want friendship, not to be ruled. Krax slammed one of his 4 hands on the table. You do not understand your position. Our ships are already moving into your solar system. Your weapons cannot harm our ships. Your soldiers are weak. An alien officer brought a small box and placed it on the table. The officer pressed a button, and a 3D image appeared over the box. It showed many Zoranian ships near Earth. You have 1 month to decide, Krax said. Until then, you 3 will stay here as our guests. Tajin understood what Krax meant. They were now hostages. We need to speak to our leaders, Tajin said. Krax nodded. You will be allowed to send messages home, but you will not leave this ship. Later, in a small room with a communication device, Tajin spoke to Colonel Doyen Kang back on Earth. The colonel's face looked serious on the screen. The world leaders are meeting now, Colonel Kang said. The situation is bad. We cannot fight their ships with our technology. What are the orders, sir? Tajin asked. Colonel Kang was quiet for a moment. Then he said words that seemed normal. The weather on Ghost Mountain is perfect this time of year. The birds are singing. Remember your training there. Tajin's face didn't change, but he understood. This was a code. Ghost Mountain was a training exercise for when green berets were captured behind enemy lines. It meant gather intelligence, find weaknesses, and prepare to strike. Yes, sir. I remember Ghost Mountain well, Tajin replied. After the call ended, Tajin gathered Gina and Huck in their room. He turned on the water in the bathroom to cover their voices, just in case the room had listening devices. We have new orders, he whispered. Operation Ghost Mountain is active. Gina's eyes widened. Are we authorized for Ghost Mountain? That means... Yes, Tajin said. We're not guests. We're now operating behind enemy lines. Huck looked worried. There are thousands of aliens on this ship. Only 3 of us. Tajin smiled. When have green berets ever worried about being outnumbered? We don't need to defeat them all. We just need to find their weak points. So what's the plan? Gina asked. For now, we keep playing along. We act cooperative. We learn everything we can about this ship, its systems, and the aliens themselves, Tajin explained. Each of us has a job. Gina, you focus on their communication systems. Huck, learn about their medical and biological weaknesses. I'll study their command structure and security. And then, Huck asked. And then, Tajin said quietly, we show them what green berets really do. They think we're simple soldiers. They don't know we're trained specifically for this kind of mission. That night, while the ship was quiet, the 3 humans began their real work. Moving silently through the shadows, they started mapping the ship, noting guard patterns, and finding ways into restricted areas. The Zoranians had made a serious mistake. They had brought the most dangerous kind of human warriors onto their ship and didn't even know it. 2 weeks passed. The Zoranians saw the humans as no threat. Tajin, Gina, and Huck were allowed to move around parts of the ship with only light guards watching them. The aliens thought the humans were accepting their fate. They were wrong. Every night, when the ship's lights dimmed, the real work began. Tajin slipped out of their quarters using a technique that kept him in the blind spots of the security cameras. The Green Berets had learned this skill by studying the most advanced security systems on Earth. The alien systems were different, but the principles were the same. Tonight, he was heading to the ship's power core. He moved like a shadow, stopping whenever guards passed by. He didn't need to hide completely. The Green Berets knew that if you moved with confidence and purpose, most people, or aliens, would assume you belonged there. Meanwhile, Gina was in an air duct above the communication center. She had been coming here for several nights, listening and learning. The Xoranians used a complex system to control their fleet, but Gina was starting to understand it. She took small notes on a piece of paper. Nothing electronic that could be detected. Command structure is centralized, she whispered to herself. All orders must come from the flagship. That's a weakness. Across the ship, Huck had made friends with a Xoranian medical officer. The alien didn't see harm in talking about basic biology with the human. After all, humans were no threat. Each conversation gave Huck more information. So your species needs to rest in cold temperatures? Huck asked innocently. Yes, heat makes us sluggish, the medical officer replied. Our homeworld is much colder than your Earth. Huck smiled and kept asking simple questions. Each answer was a potential weakness to exploit. At 300 hours, the three humans met in their bathroom with the water running to mask their voices. Report, Taejun whispered. Their communication system has 3 main nodes, Gina said. If all 3 went down at once, their fleet would be blind for at least 10 minutes. Good, Taejun nodded. Huck. They can't handle heat well. Also, their eyes are sensitive to bright flashes, and they have poor hearing compared to humans. Taejun shared his findings. The power core has 5 backup systems, but all the controls are in one room with only 2 guards. They continued sharing information for 20 minutes. Then they flushed their paper notes down the toilet and returned to bed before the guards checked on them. The next morning, High General Krax called them to a meeting. His face looked serious. Your planet's leaders have been silent, he said. The deadline is coming soon. Do they not understand the danger? Taejun kept his face neutral. Earth leaders take time to make big decisions. Many countries must agree. Krax looked frustrated. Perhaps they need motivation. He turned to an officer. Prepare a demonstration. Target one of their small islands with a warning shot. Taejun's heart beat faster, but his face remained calm. That would be seen as an act of war. It is meant to be, Krax said coldly. After the meeting, Taejun gathered his team urgently. They're going to attack Earth. We need to move up our timeline, he said. But we're not ready, Huck argued. We've only mapped 60% of the ship. It has to be enough, Taejun said firmly. Remember our training. Green Berets make do with what they have. Gina nodded. What's the plan? Taejun took a deep breath. Operation Ghost Mountain has 3 phases. First, we disrupt their communications. Second, we disable their weapons. Third, we take control of key areas. And then, Huck asked. And then Earth will know it's time for their part of the plan, Taejun said. Whatever that is. That night, as the 3 humans prepared hidden weapons made from items around the ship, Taejun thought about what they were about to do. 3 humans against thousands of aliens. The odds seemed impossible. But Green Berets specialized in impossible. At midnight, the Xoranian flagship was quiet. Most crew members were resting. Only essential personnel remained at their posts. The perfect time to strike. Taejun gave the signal. Ghost Mountain begins now. They had prepared for 3 days. Each human had made simple tools and weapons from items around the ship. A metal tray became a blade. Cleaning chemicals became smoke bombs. Even the fabric from their beds had uses. Gina moved first. She slipped through the halls toward the communication center. 2 guards stood at the door. She didn't try to fight them. Instead, she used a small device she had made from parts taken from their room's lighting system. When she activated it, lights down the hallway began to flicker and spark. The guards looked at each other, and one went to check. As soon as he was gone, Gina made her move. She threw a small cloth bag filled with a powder made from crushed cleaning tablets. The bag hit the floor near the remaining guard and burst open. The powder caused the guard to sneeze violently. While he was distracted, Gina moved in. One quick strike to a pressure point, and the guard fell silently. Inside the communications center, 3 Xoranians worked at control panels. They never expected an attack. Gina was behind the first one before they noticed. A quick strike, and he was down. The second turned but was too slow. The third managed to reach for an alarm, but Gina threw her metal blade. It hit the panel, sending sparks flying. Communications center secured. She whispered into a small communicator they had made. Across the ship, Hyuk entered the environmental control room. He had timed the guard rotations perfectly. He had 5 minutes before the next check. Hyuk quickly adjusted controls, raising the temperature in key areas of the ship. Not enough to be immediately noticed, but enough to make the Xoranians slow and uncomfortable. He also changed the oxygen mix slightly, safe for humans, but would make Xoranians drowsy. Environmental controls adjusted, he reported. Taejin had the hardest job. He needed to reach the weapons control center. 6 guards protected it, too many to fight directly. But Green Berets didn't fight directly when there were better options. Taejin set off the first distraction. A small fire in a storage room drew 3 guards away. For the others, he used psychology. He took a Xoranian officer's uniform jacket he had stolen earlier and put it on. Then he walked with purpose toward the remaining guards. "Emergency in Section 7, he said firmly. "High General Krax wants 2 of you there now." The guards hesitated only briefly before 2 of them ran off. The last guard looked confused when Taejin kept walking toward him. "You're not," the guard started to say, but Taejin was already moving. One precise strike, and the guard was unconscious. Inside the weapons control center, Taejin quickly disabled the targeting systems. He didn't need to break them completely, just make small changes that would cause problems later. "Weapons compromised," he reported. The first phase was complete. No alarms had sounded. No one knew what was happening yet. But phase 2 would be louder. Gina set off the communications disruptors they had planted throughout the ship. Suddenly, no one could contact anyone else. Hyuk released his smoke bombs into the ventilation system. Taejin triggered the ship's internal security sensors with false alarms. Chaos spread quickly. Without communications, the Xoranian response was uncoordinated. Different sections of the ship received different information. Some thought there was a fire. Others thought there was a technical failure. No one suspected an attack by just 3 humans. In the command center, High General Krax tried to understand what was happening. Reports made no sense. Systems were failing. The temperature was rising. "Find those humans," he roared, suddenly suspicious. But it was too late. The Green Berets were nowhere to be found. They moved through the ship like ghosts, striking and disappearing, causing more confusion with each action. The mighty Xoranian flagship was paralyzed by 3 soldiers they had called weak. 6 hours after the first strike, the Xoranian flagship was in complete disorder. Emergency lights cast red shadows through smoky halls. Alarms rang in some sections but were silent in others. Crew members ran back and forth without clear orders. High General Krax stormed through the ship, 4 arms clenched in anger. His perfect flagship, pride of the Xoranian fleet, was falling apart, and he finally understood why. "Find those humans," he roared at every soldier he passed. They did this. Krax had been fooled. The humans had acted weak and accepting, all while they planned this attack. He should have seen it, the way they moved during the tests, the questions they asked, the places they went. It was all preparation. Krax reached the engine room. Reports said someone was tampering with the main power systems. He entered with 6 armed guards, their weapons ready. The large room hummed with energy. Massive power cores glowed blue. Krax moved forward carefully, looking for any sign of the humans. "I know you're here," he called out. "Show yourself." A voice answered from somewhere in the shadows. "You wanted to see human strength, High General. Now you are." Krax spun around, trying to find the source. "This is not strength. This is trickery. No, Taejin said, stepping into view on a platform above. This is how humans fight when outnumbered. We use our minds. We find weaknesses. We adapt. Krax pointed his weapon at Taejin. You're alone. Where are the others? Completing the mission, Taejin said calmly. Krax laughed. 3 humans cannot defeat an empire. We don't need to defeat your empire, Taejin replied. We just need to show you that humans are not easy prey. Krax was done talking. He fired his weapon, but Taejin was already moving. The human dropped down behind machinery as energy blasts hit the wall. The guards spread out, searching for Taejin, but the engine room was full of pipes, machinery, and shadows. Perfect for hiding. One guard went down silently, then another. The others grew nervous, firing at sounds and shadows. He's just one human, Krax shouted. Find him. Suddenly, the lights went out completely. Only the blue glow of the power cords remained. In the dim light, Krax saw a shape move. He fired, but hit nothing. Then Taejin was behind him. Krax felt a sharp pain in his leg. He turned and swung with all his strength. His large fist connected with Taejin's chest, sending the human flying into a wall. Now I have you, Krax said, moving toward the fallen human. But Taejin rose quickly, despite what must have been broken ribs. Green Berets are trained to fight through pain, he said. What is a green beret? Krax demanded, circling the human. We are special forces, elite soldiers trained to operate behind enemy lines, to fight against impossible odds, to win wars before they begin. Taejin didn't back away. He moved toward Krax instead. You're still just one small human, Krax said. Am I? Taejin asked. At that moment, Gina and Hyuk appeared from different directions. All the guards were down. Krax looked around in disbelief. How? There are thousands of us on this ship. You don't need to defeat everyone to win, Taejin explained. You just need to hit the right targets. We could kill you now, Gina said, but that's not our mission. What is your mission? Krax asked, still ready to fight. To send a message, Hyuk answered. Humans are not weak. We're different. We don't win with strength alone. And what message would that be? Krax was buying time, waiting for backup. Taejin stepped closer, looking up at the much larger alien. The message is, Earth is not alone. There are thousands more like us, and if you attack our world. He let the statement hang in the air. At that moment, a voice came over the ship's speakers. Attention all Zoranian ships. This is Colonel Do-Yeon Kang of Earth Special Forces. We have control of your flagship. This is happening on all your ships in our system right now. Let's talk peace instead of war. Krax stared at the humans in shock. For the first time, he felt fear. Across the solar system, Zoranian ships faced the same problem. Small teams of human special forces had somehow boarded every ship. They were not all Green Berets. Some were Navy SEALs, others were Spetsnaz, British SAS, and other elite units from Earth's nations. But they all used the same tactics. On the flagship, Taejin secured High General Krax in a room that had once held the humans. Krax sat on a bench, looking confused and angry. How did your people get on all our ships? He demanded. When you invited us for cultural exchange, we sent small teams to each ship, Taejin explained. You thought you were studying us, but we were preparing. Impossible, Krax said. Your planet doesn't have the technology to defeat us. Technology isn't everything, Taejin replied. History is full of advanced armies defeated by determined fighters who knew the land and used creative tactics. A communication screen on the wall lit up. Colonel Do-Yeon's face appeared. Commander Kim, status report. Flagship secured, sir, Taejin said. High General Krax is contained but unharmed. Excellent work, the colonel said. The Earth Security Council is ready to speak with the Zoranian leadership. The screen split to show a room of serious-looking humans in business clothes. These were Earth's leaders. "This is unprecedented," a woman said. "The Xoranian threat has been neutralized without destroying a single ship or taking a single alien life." Krax looked surprised. "You could have destroyed us." "Not with our weapons," Taejin said. "But we could have killed your crews and taken your ships if we wanted to. That was never our goal." Colonel Doyun spoke again. "High General, while your ships were focused on Earth, we captured a Xoranian communications hub. We now have a direct line to your Emperor." Krax looked shocked. "How?" "The hub is protected by 20 ships and 3 space stations," Taejin finished. "Those were taken too, by just 30 human operators." 30. Krax couldn't believe it. Against thousands. "Green Berets and other special forces don't fight fair," Gina explained as she entered the room. "We're trained to multiply our effectiveness, to make the enemy fight themselves through confusion." Hyuk joined them, carrying medical supplies. He began treating Taejin's injuries from the fight with Krax. "Let me explain something about human history," Hyuk said as he worked. "For thousands of years, we've fought each other. We learned that the biggest army doesn't always win. The side with better training, better tactics, and more determination often defeats larger forces. The Roman Empire fell to tribes they called barbarians," Taejin added. "The American Revolution was won by farmers against the world's strongest army. Vietnam was defended by guerrilla fighters against superpowers." Krax listened, beginning to understand. "So your weakness is not weakness," Gina said. "Humans evolved as persistence hunters. We're not the strongest or fastest, but we can track prey for days without stopping. We solve problems. We adapt. We endure." The communication screen changed to show Xoranian ships throughout the solar system. Each one had been captured by small human teams. "Your Emperor has agreed to talks," Colonel Doyun said. "The invasion is cancelled." Krax looked at the 3 humans who had brought down his flagship. "I still don't understand. Why didn't we detect your capabilities earlier?" Taejin smiled slightly. "Because you were looking for the wrong things. You tested physical strength. You didn't test determination, creativity, or the will to win against all odds. Those are the true strengths of humanity," Gina added. "And especially of Green Berets," Hyuk said with pride. Outside the window of the room, Earth shone blue and green. Still safe, still free, protected not by powerful weapons or strong warriors, but by soldiers who had mastered the art of asymmetric warfare. Soldiers who had turned weakness into their greatest strength. 3 days later, the peace talks began. They were held in a large room on the Xoranian flagship. Earth sent 5 people, 2 world leaders, Colonel Doyun, and 2 military advisors, Taejin and Gina. Hyuk stayed behind to help treat injured Xoranians. On the other side of the table sat High General Krax, 3 Xoranian officials, and a special guest, Emperor Xor himself, who had arrived from the Xoranian homeworld. The Emperor was even larger than Krax, with 6 arms instead of 4, and skin that was deep blue. The room was quiet as Emperor Xor spoke first. "Never in the history of our empire has this happened," the Emperor said. His voice was deep and echoed in the room. "No species has ever stopped our forces." One of the human world leaders, President Quan, nodded. "We prefer peace to war, Emperor, but we will defend ourselves if needed." Emperor Xor looked at Taejin. "These small soldiers, how did they defeat our warriors?" Colonel Doyun stood up. "With your permission, I will explain." When the Emperor nodded, the colonel activated a screen that showed images from Earth's military history. "Humans have fought wars for thousands of years," he explained. "Often, small forces had to fight larger ones. We developed special tactics and training for this." The screen showed ancient battles, guerrilla fighters, and modern special forces. "These soldiers," Colonel Doyun continued, pointing to Taejin and Gina, "are Green Berets. They are trained to work behind enemy lines with little support against much larger forces." "Show me," Emperor Xor demanded. Taejin stood and walked to a clear area of the room. Green Berets master many skills. We learn at least one foreign language. He spoke several sentences in the Zoranian language, surprising the aliens. We learned to live off the land with minimal supplies. Taejin showed how he had made tools from simple items on the ship. We study psychology and culture to understand our enemies. Gina explained how they had observed Zoranian behavior patterns and used them to predict responses. Most importantly, Taejin continued, we train to think creatively when facing impossible odds. High General Krax leaned forward. But physically, you are still weaker than us. Yes, Taejin admitted, but physical strength is only one type of strength. Gina stepped forward. Humans evolved as persistence hunters. We couldn't outrun fast animals, so we chased them until they got tired. We kept going when stronger creatures had to rest. She continued, this shaped how we think. We don't give up. We find ways around problems. When one approach fails, we try another, and another, until we succeed. Emperor Zor listened carefully. And these green berets are your best at this. They are among our best at asymmetric warfare, Colonel Do-Yun explained, fighting when outnumbered and outgunned. For the next hour, the humans shared more about Earth's military history. They told stories of small forces defeating empires, of determined fighters overcoming superior technology, of adaptation winning against brute force. The Zoranians asked many questions. They were especially interested in how humans trained these special soldiers. How many green berets do you have? High General Krax asked. Not many, Taejin answered. The training is extremely difficult. Most who try do not complete it. Yet just 3 of you disabled this entire ship, an official noted. Because we studied you first, Gina explained. We found weak points in your systems, your procedures, your thinking. As the meeting continued, the mood in the room gradually changed. The Zoranians stopped seeing humans as weak creatures. They began to see them as dangerous and clever warriors. Emperor Zor finally raised all 6 of his hands for silence. I have seen enough, he announced. Humans are not what we thought. You do not win through strength, but through. He searched for the word. Determination, Taejin suggested. Adaptability. Yes, the Emperor agreed. These are warrior virtues we have forgotten in our reliance on technology and physical power. He looked at the human delegates with new respect in his eyes. Perhaps there is much our peoples can learn from each other. For the first time since the Zoranians arrived, both sides began to see a way forward that didn't involve conquest or war. 6 months had passed since the peace talks. The Zoranian ships still orbited Earth, but not as invaders. They were now allies. On the flagship, now called Unity, Taejin walked down a hallway with High General Krax. The two had become unlikely friends. Your students are improving, Taejin said. They're starting to think more like green berets. Krax nodded. They find it difficult. Our training always focused on strength and direct attacks. Your methods are uncomfortable for them. Change is always uncomfortable, Taejin replied. They entered a large training room where 30 Zoranian soldiers were learning from human instructors. Gina was teaching a group about communication techniques. Huck was demonstrating medical skills that could keep soldiers alive in the field. In another corner, Colonel Do-Yun was explaining strategy to Zoranian officers. Sometimes the target isn't what you think, he was saying. Look deeper, find the real center of power. Emperor Zor had made a surprising decision after the peace talks. Instead of leaving Earth, he had proposed a military alliance. Humans would teach Zoranians about special operations and adaptive warfare. In return, Zoranians would share their technology and help protect Earth from other threats in the galaxy. There are worse enemies out there, Zor had explained. Species that even we fear. Having warriors who think like your green berets could save us all. Now, in the training room, a young Zoranian approached Taejin. Commander Kim, he said respectfully, I still don't understand why we practice with so few resources. In real combat, we would have our full weapons. Would you? Taejun asked. What if your ship crashes? What if your supplies are lost? What if the enemy takes your weapons? You must learn to use whatever is available. The young soldier thought about this. I will try harder, he said finally. Later that day, Taejun, Gina, and Hook met in what had once been their prison room but was now their office. The walls were covered with training schedules and notes. I never thought I'd be teaching aliens how to be Green Berets, Huck said with a laugh. They're good students, Gina replied. Strong, smart, determined. They just never needed to think this way before. Taejun looked out the window at Earth below. Their empire conquered 200 worlds because no one else fought like we do. They never faced an enemy who turned weakness into strength. A message arrived from Colonel Doyen. The first joint Earth-Xeranian mission was approved. A small team of humans and Xeranians would go to a distant planet where a hostile species was building weapons to attack both Earth and the Xeranian Empire. This is the real test, Taejun said, reading the mission details. Can we work together using both our strengths? The next day, Taejun stood before the mixed team. 3 humans and 3 Xeranians. They wore new uniforms with patches showing Earth and the Xeranian homeworld side by side. This mission needs both our skills, Taejun explained. We need Xeranian strength and human adaptability. Together, we can succeed where either would fail alone. High General Krax, now the commander of all joint operations, addressed the team. 6 months ago, I thought humans were weak. I mocked their small size and lesser strength. I was wrong. He looked at Taejun with respect. True strength isn't in the body alone. It's in the mind, in the spirit, in the will to never give up, to adapt, to find a way when there seems to be none. Krax touched the green beret that Taejun had given him as a symbol of their new alliance. The Xeranian Empire has conquered many worlds, but Earth has conquered us, not with weapons, but with wisdom. As the team prepared to leave on their mission, Emperor Zor himself came to see them off. He spoke words that would become famous throughout the galaxy. We thought we were teaching the galaxy's strength. Instead, humans taught us that there are many kinds of strength, and sometimes the strongest warriors are the ones you least expect. The small ship lifted off, carrying the future of both species with it. A future built not on conquest, but on respect and shared purpose.